Good day, and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today, we're reviewing two of Brandon Sanderson's secret projects. So today, I decided since I didn't get around to reviewing Secret Project number 2, we're going to do a dual review. So stay tuned, that's coming up right here on Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, let's talk about Brandon Sanderson and the Secret Projects. We are going to be doing two reviews today, a dual review of Secret Project number 2, which is The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England, or rather, The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, and Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third of his secret projects. So let's talk about it. And of course, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Alright, let's get into this. We here at Frugal Wizard Incorporated are committed to providing you with the highest quality experience possible, available to any true wizard for a reasonable price. We provide the fun, you provide the body, and the money. Don't forget about the money. Also, we mean your own body, though we don't ask too many questions. This is, in essence, it is a time travel book, interdimensional time travel. Imagine being thrown back in time, waking up in this culture from medieval England, not knowing who you are or where you came from, and having to work to figure it out. As you piece together these little clues about who you are and where you came from, and what you're doing here. This is what this book is about. It is, in essence, a time travel story, which I think is just kind of a really cool concept of interdimensional travel. The very idea of having some future business. And we have to remember, this book takes place in the future, kind of, in that our character's from the future, but he's traveling to an alternate dimension which is set in our past, in medieval England. So it's kind of like it's in the future, but it's not. Anyway, he wakes up, he's from some future unspecified date where the world has figured out how to travel between dimensions and realities. So you're going back to these alternate dimensions and it's theirs a vacation. Different companies will charge you different rates to travel into alternate dimensions, and every company kind of owns their own version or own dimensions and alternate universes, and you could travel there for a fee. This is the concept of the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, and this was just a fun story all around. I really enjoyed how we go back and explore these different ideas, and the nice thing is, because it is an alternate dimension, alternate reality that we're set in, there's no need to actually worry about having any kind of historical accuracy behind the storytelling, which kind of makes it fun, because you can kind of make stuff up as you go, mix stuff and time frames that wouldn't actually be there in our own history, and that's okay because it's an alternate dimension reality. It's not our authentic history. That's really what makes this story fun. I would say for sure that this is definitely not your typical Sanderson book, and that it's not a fantasy book. It's definitely more of a sci-fi book that I would say, and I would definitely feel like it's absolutely more of a YA book. So far, I will be honest, I think it's probably my least favorite of the Sandersons Secret Projects thus far. But I like the fact that it does operate as a standalone story. So there isn't going to be more tales in this. But I will say this for sure. I love the idea in this so much. I could really see this concept being developed further into a bigger thing. Not necessarily a whole bunch of books, although I'll be honest, I would love it if Sanderson wrote a whole bunch of books developed from this concept, the Frugal Wizard's Handbook to whatever, each book being a different time period or a different thing that you have the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for. So of course, when you go to these alternate realities, being super powerful and knowing a bunch of stuff and having abilities that the people there simply don't, you are of course viewed as a wizard. And I really like that, honestly, and I could really see it develop. You know what, I would even watch a TV series based on this concept, because I just think it's a really cool idea overall. And that is what I can say about Sanderson's Secret Project number 2, is it's a great concept, great idea, and an enjoyable story all around. but probably if I were to rank all 3 of his secret projects so far, this would come in number 3. So those are just kind of some of my thoughts and feelings on the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. Fun, YA, nothing too complicated, easy read, generally enjoyable. Good read all around. Alright, now to talk about Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. So this is Brandon Sanderson's Secret Project number 3. I'm anxiously awaiting my hard copy edition of this book. But imagine, if you will, imagine a world in which nightmares walk the land. And the only thing standing between you and this nightmare that is manifesting in reality and actually has the potential to cause you real physical harm is a guy with a paintbrush. That's right, a guy with a paintbrush. And that is what Yumi and the Nightmare Painter is about. But it's about more than that. It is definitely, some have already described it as kind of a fantasy romance, which it definitely has that aspect of it for sure. No argument from me on that. It definitely has that romance aspect on it, which I think is just fine with this. I enjoyed how their relationship developed and how these two, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, came together. Like Tress of the Emerald Sea, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter is set on a new Cosmere world. This world is a very interesting dynamic in this world in that it seems to be surrounded by this shroud. And there's only one light visible in the entire heavens of this world. And that's it, one star. And the rest of the world is constantly a state of perpetual night. And this is kind of the world where it's set in. Of course, the nightmares hunt the land and haunt the land throughout the night. And our painters are like these, kind of like the military that fights them off through their art. And I really kind of like that idea behind this concept of this story. And then we also have Yumi. She is a character who is basically chosen from birth to serve the gods and the people, and her job is to call the spirits forth in order for them to manifest in our world as different things that we need. Or not our world, I guess, the world of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And this is a really interesting concept, because if you're a Cosmere fan, then as you read it, you kind of get that vibe that it's very similar, or has a kind of similar feel to other magic systems in other parts of the Cosmere. One thing that I can absolutely say about the Cosmere connections in this is that they're just kind of really obvious connections. They're just things blurted out about the Cosmere of other areas. Now, as a huge Cosmere fan, I love seeing and hearing about things in books throughout the Cosmere that are linked through other books. I love that. I absolutely love that. That is huge. I love seeing that in the Cosmere books. But at the same time, I kind of wish that the Cosmere links were a little more subtle, because as much as I love the Cosmere, I love having the links, kind of the mystery of how it all connects together, it's kind of the fun of the reading for me, having that kind of mystery there. I know if you take a look at Bookish Chass's video on Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and I'm going to link that down below, is he had mentioned that he feels that these books were really written for the core Sanderson fans, and I have to agree with him on that. I really think that is the case, just because of how unsubtle the Cosmere references are throughout this book. And I enjoyed that, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love seeing that in there, but it's definitely not written for someone who's new to the Cosmere, so I would not recommend this for someone who's starting out new to the Cosmere. Now, that being said, if you've never read anything in the Cosmere, you could absolutely go ahead and read this. The Cosmere links and references in there are not going to be problematic. I honestly don't think they're going to be problematic for you. I don't think you really need to understand the references to enjoy the story as a whole. But know that they are, for someone who is well versed in the Cosmere, they're very obvious references, which is why it's kind of absolutely written for the Cosmere fans. And probably not the best introduction to the Cosmere itself. You want to kind of read through things like Mistborn and Stormlight Archive and Warbreaker, Elantris. You want to kind of read through these other books first before picking up even Tress of the Emerald Sea for that matter. But overall, it was definitely a fun, enjoyable read. And I'm really kind of getting the feeling through Sandersons Secret Projects here that they're very much YA orientated, so young adult fantasy. is really kind of the focus that I'm getting from a lot of these, or all three of these books so far. Very much a YA focus, which is totally fine as well, because, you know, YA can still be good and still be enjoyable. I want to see this story expanded so we could get more of this world, because I just think it's a really cool world the way that it's been set up. One thing that I did notice was some of the writing in this book. Now, I honestly don't think this is a spoiler, but I can kind of understand if some people do, so just be warned in advance if you haven't yet read the book. But there does seem to be some commentary on a debate that's actually raging quite a bit across the world right now, and that has to do with artificial intelligence and creating art through artificial intelligence. And the commentary on this that we kind of come across in the book is that art is something that expresses our humanity, and it takes a human to express that art and for it to really inherently be art. That commentary kind of came through in the book a little bit for me. And again, I'm not going to explain exactly how that conversation came up, what triggered that conversation, or how it came to be in the book, because I don't want to get into spoilers. But I kind of thought that that was an interesting way to kind of weave this conversation into this. And it wasn't even subtle. It was very much, I got the impression that Sanderson is expressing how he feels about that within this work. As far as my personal views on that, I don't know. This is still something that is being hotly debated, and it's something that's definitely worth considering, I guess, the best way to put it. It's not a debate that's been settled, that's for sure. But when all said and done, it was just the idea of art being used to express our thoughts, our feelings, and to take that which seems absolutely terrifying and turn it into something that is much more benign. I just think is a really cool concept in this book, and I really like the way that idea was expressed through a unique and different magic system that we have within this world that has been created, which is kind of actually using two different magic systems: the magic system of Yumi and the magic system of the painter. I'm trying to avoid spoilers here. I know sometimes when you talk a little bit about magic systems, it can spoil it a bit, but let it be. To sum it up, essentially, is the concept behind this book is art being a creative force for good, and I think that is a really cool idea and something that I thoroughly enjoyed. So those are just some of my thoughts here on Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, as well as the Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England. If you have read these books, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. So definitely drop a comment down below, or if you're planning on reading them, I'd love to hear from you as well. And, you know, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time on the next episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Until then, keep on reading. Bye!